The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the girl who was possessed by demons, was not just any movie. This was based on a real-life event. She was possessed by 6 demons and underwent 67 exorcisms, and her actual name was Annalise Michel. Annalise was born into a strict Catholic family. However, they weren't just a bit religious, they were on the more extreme side. While other girls would do normal activities fit for their age, her and her 3 sisters were forced to attend mass twice a week and partake in other practices such as sleeping on the cold bare stone floor to pretty much suffer for the sins of other people. This type of enforced devotion towards religion would be something that would come back to bite them in the future, and as time went on, Annalise started developing neurosis, becoming an extremely fearful individual. Now, she would live her life under her parents' strict religious conditions until 1968 at the age of 16. This was when one day at school, Annalise suddenly blacked out and began walking around in a daze. People who were there and saw the incident claimed that Annalise was in a trance-like state, and when she finally came to her senses, she had no recollection of what happened. That very same night, Annalise woke up with a heavy feeling on her body. It was like something was pressing up on her. Her parents got her to stay home from school the next day, thinking everything would be fine moving forward. But from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. About a year later, she wakes up in a trance, wets her bed, and goes through a series of convulsions. After being taken to the neurologist, she was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy, which causes seizures, loss of memory, and the most noteworthy one, experiencing visual and auditory hallucinations. In simple terms, she would see some crazy ass shit. Her doctors prescribed a few different medications for her condition, but over time, they would stop working and her health would begin to deteriorate even more, and things only got worse. By 1970, she would catch tuberculosis and be hospitalized. This is where another blackout occurred, but this time, it was in front of all the other patients. And so naturally, they started to openly mock and isolate her for this. And I'm sure you can guess, it took a huge toll on her mental state. But now the hallucinations and seizures were happening more often. She would claim that demons were whispering in her ears and that she could actually see the devil. But upon being released from the hospital, she would continue her education and dive deeper into the religious rabbit hole, researching and trying to find a cause as to why she keeps seeing and hearing these sort of demonic things. By 1973, her condition and mental state plunged into an all-time low. She couldn't pray without seeing the devil and grew intolerant of holy objects like the Bible and crucifixes. Her family even tried setting a pilgrimage for her, and Annalise claimed that standing on the shrine's soil made her feet burn. She couldn't drink the holy water, and one time, her mother even caught her staring at a picture of the Virgin Mary, and her eyeballs apparently turned pitch black. After much consultation, her parents believed that Annalise was possessed by demons, and the only way to cure her was with an exorcism. However, their churches disapproved this method, saying that she should just continue her medicine. She was isolated from society and confined to her room. Reports say that she would constantly scream, growl, and make all sorts of scary noises. And on top of all of that, she would eat bugs off the floor. It all seemed hopeless until the family met a priest by the name of Ernst Alt. The moment he laid eyes on her, he claimed that Annalise was an epileptic. In fact, he believed 100% that she was actually possessed. He filed a petition for the local priest to allow the exorcism, and after a while, it was granted. However, all of this had to be done in complete secrecy. Father Ernst Alt and Father Arnold Renz were the two appointed to carry out this task. Annalise was then cut off from her medication, and from 1975 to 1976, 67 exorcisms were performed on her. Sessions lasting up to 4 hours at a time, and it was believed that there were 6 evil figures possessing her: Lucifer, Cain, Legion, Judas, Hitler, and Nero. Audio recordings during the exorcism would reveal that these evil beings would allegedly be fighting for power over Annalise's body, as they would all go back and forth arguing with each other. She would also have to be restrained the entire time and wasn't allowed to eat food or drink water. By the end of the practice, it is said that the exorcism was successful and she had finally been set free. But only a few short days later, Annalise ended up passing away. Now there's a huge back and forth with this, because the autopsy reports suggest that she passed away from malnutrition and dehydration. But it's not over yet, because they also found that her teeth were fractured, knees broken, and other complications. And to top things off, by the end of all of this, she only weighed 68 pounds. So due to the state she was found in, authorities charged the two priests and Annalise's parents for being negligent. But during the trial, the two priests had a different story. They tried to convince the courts that Annalise was in fact possessed. They even used the recordings from the exorcism in order to justify their actions. But the courts didn't buy it, and those two were found guilty of manslaughter and were sentenced to 6 months in jail. As for her parents, the mom and dad didn't face any repercussions as the justice system stated that they had suffered enough. Weird way to get out of a punishment, but apparently in Germany, that was a criteria for sentencing. Do you believe she was possessed, or could it have been something else? Leave it in the comment sections below.